Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at the Gamma 1 case. Without further ado, here we go. So our first item is the Nova Exo, which is a pretty unique kind of skin. It has like almost like an iron shell around a purple underbody, which looks kind of cool, honestly. I feel like X is probably short for exoskeleton, but I don't know what this has to do with those because the skeleton doesn't seem to be on the outside. But nonetheless, it's actually a pretty solid design. It's unfortunate the stock isn't also colored. I don't know why they didn't do that. But either way, it's very unique looking skin, having kind of the purple popping out of the little cracks between all the metal or iron or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's a pretty decent skin. I'd say it's not really that bad. So for me, that is a C tier. And next up, we have the PP Bison Harvester. And yeah. I mean, this is definitely like kind of cool because you can see all the mechanisms on the Bison kind of. And this seems like something you would find either just like in some abandoned kind of like relic area or whatever, or just I don't know in like a farm somewhere. This seems like a weapon that someone kind of just forgot about and left in the dirt somewhere, and it was just sitting there for a while. It can definitely look really cool for people that like probably camo skins. Like this probably fits in really well with that type of aesthetic. But for me personally, it's not that cool. Although it's noticeably different from stock, so I can't say it's completely horrible. So that's gonna be a D tier for me. And next up is the P250 Ironclad, which is just a green metallic P250. Has kind of noticeable scratches. I mean, I guess it's a lower fact new, but still, it's quite bad in my opinion. Um, Yet again, for people that like kind of like the army look of weapons, this is probably really dope. But for me personally, it really kind of isn't. It's definitely still noticeably different from stock, but I'd say it's not that much better, so it's a very low D tier for me. Then we have the SG553 Aerial, which is one of those HD skins where all like kind of the textures almost look like more 3D on on a 3D weapon. The designs normally look 2D, so having designs that look more like 3D on top of 3D looks really cool for some people. For me, not normally. But this is the SG553, where most weapons only have around half of a skin, or sometimes even just the body in the middle here. So having a full skin is already a big plus for this. And then the actual skin itself is really well made. The colors go really well together. Looks very unique, very distinguishable from stock. The use of the color orange is really cool in my opinion. And the tip has some really cool stuff going on too, with the blue, yellow, and orange kind of all right next to each other. And then you have this kind of decent looking eagle design here, and kind of a wing of it right here. It's just a really, really solid kind of almost remake of the weapon. So for me, that's actually more of a B tier. It's just nice looking skin, and I'm probably gonna pick one of these up. Anyway, next up is the Mac10 Carnivore, and yeah, I think what they were going for here is a raw piece of meat, kind of like when you put on the grill or something that cook. Not 100% sure what this design was supposed to be. It's also kind of unfortunate that it doesn't use the whole Mac 10 and it only uses the box. Though that's not that bad because the box is what you really see in game. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like you can see like the tendons kind of creaking out between the meat. I think this is similar to the exoskeleton, but it doesn't have that same kind of really nice color scheme of a silver and purple. This is just kind of color of I don't even know. I can't even say this is the color of meat. It just looks like the color of maybe raw meat at best, and that just doesn't look good in my opinion. I would say honestly just stick to stock. I don't like this design whatsoever, so for me it's an F tier, even though it's still really a solid design and works for some people. I just don't like the look of this thing. That's all there is to it. Then we have the Tec9 Icecap, and I actually own one of these. That's actually the Tec9 that I use. It's just nice. Just a very nice light blue, snowy top, which is the reason I picked this up. Now, it is a bit unfortunate that the bottom looks stock and is stock, But honestly, on the Tec9, all you normally see is the top here, and since it covers the whole top and it's such a nice light blue color, and it also comes in a lot of different unique patterns, which is something I happen to know, where you can have more blue or white in different areas, which is kind of cool. It's just a really nice, bright, good-looking skin. I can't say it's like particularly amazing though, so for me, it's still a solid C tier. Even though I do have one of these, it's just kind of okay, and it's really cheap, which is why I picked it up, honestly. Anyway, next up is the 5-7 Violent Daimyo. It's our final blue, and it's a pretty cool looking one. It's got a lot of these cool looking kind of designs. You have the two swords crossing with the Triforce in the back, a little upside down warning symbol, a globe for some reason. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it's probably a shield, I'm assuming, since these are swords, and they have a second version of that there. You see more swords back here, kind of like a virus-looking thing in the middle here. And I don't know, it's got a lot of interesting patterns, but the main cool thing about this one is the color scheme. It's like a pinkish purple with gray, which just looks really, really clean and really, really good. And having all these designs all over the place that aren't super noticeable but are very much there kind of makes the skin feel like it has a lot more going on and makes it kind of look a lot nicer in my opinion. I think if this was a flat pink or purple with gray, it wouldn't look as kind of interesting. And even not knowing what any of this stuff is, just it being there makes the skin look a lot more intricate and looks a lot like cleaner, in my opinion. So for me, it's actually a solid B tier skin, which is where I'm gonna put it. And yeah. And then next up, we have the sawed-off Limelight, um, which just looks like the USPS Torque, but like stretched a little. It's definitely a decent finish. Almost looks like a marble finish, even though it's definitely not a marble finish. It has kind of the texture here that reminds me of marble. So that's why I'm thinking of a marble finish. And then it has this neon light green. So this is definitely not horrible. I can't say this is like an atrocious skin. But personally, I'm just not a big fan of it. I think it's a little bit too bright and kind of uninspired. This could easily have been a C tier, but I'm gonna put it down a D tier, even though like this definitely will work for a lot of people and still be a solid skin. Yeah. And then next up is the AUG Aristocrat, and it's like what I was talking about the SG553 earlier, except for some reason the purple is the one where only half the weapon has a camo thing on it, and the blue is the one that had a full design. Kind of weird, but anyway, this has kind of the same like designs that you'd see, I think, on like the op prints, except instead of gold, they're silver, and instead of covering the entire op, the weapon, it only covers half the weapon. But yeah, it's got a very basic like navy blue background and some somewhat interesting metallic designs, I guess, but really nothing crazy. I'm gonna put this in D tier. I don't think it's really anything special, but it's definitely a little bit better than stock. And next up is the P90 Chopper, and I'm surprised I've never seen this in game before. This looks really cool. it's it's like hell demon blue flames or whatever just coming out of the front of the weapon into like an orange background. It just looks really clean. And then the rest of the weapon has some, decent designs that kind of go with the rest of it. But really, there's just kind of one giant blue flame coming out the front of the weapon, which I think looks dope as hell. I might pick up one of these depending on how expensive they are. That might be why I haven't seen one. They might be really expensive. I don't know. But yeah, this design's just really simple but really dope. For me, it's actually a pretty easy A tier. I'm definitely gonna have to pick one of these up. I really like the look of it. Then next up is the R8 revolver Reboot, and this just kind of looks like a high tech revolver. Has all like the markings you expect from like a high tech video game. I feel like this is the type of revolver you'd find in like Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever. Even though I haven't played it, it just seems like something you would find in that. Very, very solid job on all the details. It looks really, really clean. And for people that like futuristic looking weapons, it's really solid. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan. I definitely don't dislike this by any means, but I'm not the biggest fan of it because I'm not the biggest fan of that futuristic look. But I'm definitely going to say it's really solid, very well deserving of its C tier placement. Then next up is our last purple, the Phobos. I see this all over the place, not because it's, particularly good or anything, but just because it's one of the cheapest ops out there, and I can see why. It's very, very basic. The normal op is pretty much just green, except for the barrel, and well, this op is still very much that almost same color of green, uh, except for the barrel, which is still black. It has like a yellow bolt at the front, which is okay. And then it has some kind of caution stuff all around it. But not all around it, only in some very minor parts, like around the scope, the back, and then this part for some reason. And then the rest of it just has some random lights and stuff on it, which probably, is cool for something, but I don't really know what. And then it has some numbers that aren't a stat try counter, I guess. I don't know. This is just a really kind of uninspired design. I feel like this is like the actual op that you'd see in the military versus the normal default op that kind of looks like it's real, but like not real, if that makes sense. This one, it would probably be something you'd actually see as someone who has never looked into anything about the military, whatever. I feel like this is the type of thing you'd see just inherently. It's just very basic. I mean, you can't go wrong with it, so I'll put it at the bottom of C tier, but I really do not see a lot in this design. Then we have the P2000 Imperial Dragon, and this thing is clean as fuck. I wish the P2000 was more used because this would be a really cool skin to see a lot used in game. It's got a really, really cool like dragon design covering the entire thing. It's got some also cool designs on like the front and back, I guess. Like flames right here look really cool. And the best part about this one, in my opinion, is the color scheme, which is orange and dark red, which is like the colors of flames. Which, when you're talking about a dragon and also the flames on the back, just fits super well, and it just ends up looking super clean. I really like the look of this one, and for me, it's an easy high B tier. And next up, we have the Scar 20 Bloodsport. Um, Yeah, it's just like the other. Maybe it wasn't called Bloodsport, but I think it's like the other Bloodsport, which I think was on AK. Except unlike the AK, it's a bit stretched in the front here, and all the patterns and stuff seem a lot more random than they did on the AK. And the scope, for some reason, is just a weird gray texture that doesn't match anything else on the weapon or even really go with the rest of the weapon at all. This just looks really bad. It's like something that a small child first randomly painted different colors in different areas, and then they randomly just added a bunch of logos they thought of just all over randomly. It does not look like anything. It's not like one clear, coherent skin. It's a mess, in my opinion. I don't really like it. I'm just gonna put it in F tier. I know it doesn't really deserve to be there, but it's I don't like this thing. It doesn't look good at all. Yeah. Then we have the M4A4 Desolate Space, and this is just one of the coolest designs in the game. Now, as for being a skin, I can't say it's one of the coolest skins, but the design on its own is dope as fuck. It's like a dead kind of space guy, astronaut, that's the word I was thinking of. Just a dead astronaut kind of in space with a cool ass explosion going off in the back and a missile flying off on the side. Just for the artwork alone, it's absolutely beautiful. And the placement of everything, especially the stuff right in the middle, is really, really cool. But a lot of the coolest parts of this kind of get cut off. Like, you can only see part of the explosion stuff. And the only thing you really can see is, the dead astronaut, which is, it's cool and all, but without the rest of it, it's a lot less cool. And especially if you want to apply any stickers, this just will not go with like any stickers. You kind of need the design, and it's not going to feel very unique from all the other desolate spaces because of that. But like I said, still a really solid design, so I say you can't really go wrong with this, but I don't think you go too right with it either because it is just a design that's really cool. So for me, that's a C tier skin. And our first red is the Glock 18 Wasteland Rebel. It's one of those skins that just has like graffiti on it, and this one just says kill them all, and has some very basic kind of background to it. Uh, this is a fact new one, and it looks really like battle scarred, which I guess is part of the design. And like I've said a million times, I'm not the biggest fan of that type of design. So for me, this is not gonna get that good of a rating, and I'm gonna have to put it down in D tier. just because it's not like my type of skin. But for people that do like this, they absolutely will love this, and I'm sure I'll get someone in the comments telling me about how they really love this skin and how I'm wrong. And, you know, to each their own. It's a very opinionated kind of take. Then our final skin is the M4A1S Mecha Industries, and this is just kind of a less clean print stream. The M4A1S print stream is basically almost a pure white with a few like black X's and stuff on it, which looks really clean, really good. This, on the other hand, is white and black as well, and somewhat clean white, but it has all these kind of designs and dirt on it that make it end up looking a lot less clean. It's still pretty solid. I mean, like everything's colored okay, but no, just knowing the print streams out there, this just feels inferior in pretty much every way, and I think the price isn't even that much lower. So I would just never really get this, just price wise, putting it out there. But from a design perspective, it's all right. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing really good, but it definitely is good enough for a C tier placement. Relatively low in my opinion. But yeah, that's it for the Gamma 1 case, or just the Gamma case, whatever you want to call it. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these skins as much as I did. Make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe to see more of this stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one.